Hey everyone, welcome to another game development episode where we're recreating the Legend of Zelda in Game Maker. And in today's episode, we are going to deal with Link's health. And what you see here are three little hearts. This is what you start off with in the game. And the light pink here represents when he's low on health. So this heart container on the right is not filled, meaning he doesn't have health here. This one's half filled and this one is fully filled. And so we're going to add the health bar as well as the ability to pick up health and fill up your health bar. And lastly, when Link gets hit by an enemy, taking away health like that. Also, when you pick up heart containers, they give you more health as you go through the game. You can actually fill 2 rows of these with health, which is extremely helpful because the game is pretty hard. The first thing we're going to do is under items here, I went ahead and added the sprites. You guys know how to do this. I'm going to give the sprites in a download on my Patreon page for free. So go check that out. The link's below. The first sprite that we have is called Sprite Hearts. And when we look at it, there's actually 3 different sprites. One is the empty heart container, the half-filled heart container, and the full heart container here. One thing to note, I don't know if I've mentioned this in previous episodes, you can see it says image 0, image 1, image 2. This is important because in a minute when we go to the object, we're going to be using image 2 as the sprite index for when a heart gets dropped. So just know when I go to that code, that's why we're using image 2. So that's it for that sprite. And then this is the heart container. You can actually see it there, but I'm calling it sprite heart container. And we're actually done with the images there. The next thing, I went ahead and created an object called object heart. I set the index to those object hearts right there. And in the create event, I initialized these. There's 3 things we did. One is image speed equals 0, because we don't want it to rotate through those 3 images that we saw. And I'm setting the index to that third image, or image number 2, since it starts with 0, 1, 2. And then HP equals 8. So this is important. A full heart is equal to 8 health points to fill up an entire heart. So each one of those hearts that you see up there represents 8 HP. So that's important. So that's our heart. We're actually done with that. The other thing we need to do is our first enemy that we run into is the Octorok, and we're going to go to him in the overworld, and we're going to change we're going to go to the create event, and we're going to change his damage to 4. That's actually how much damage he's going to do to our health points. He's going to take away half a heart when we hit him. So that's what we'll set up there. Okay. Already moving along. Let's close up some stuff so that we're dealing with a clean environment. And so the next thing that we're going to deal with is the player object. So let's go here. We're done with the Octorok. And one of the first things that we need to do is set up some more variables in here to deal with. We're going to deal with hearts, the heart containers, the max number of heart containers, as well as the iframes when we get hit. How long are we invincible for? So we'll go ahead and set that up. The first thing that we'll do is, and I'm going to set these up right here. I'm going to say iframe equals 0. We'll use this in a little bit. We're going to have a timer that counts down for the invincibility. And then we're going to deal with their HP. So HP equals, I could tell you it's 24 to start off with, but this will be set over time. And really what this is you start off with 3 heart containers, and each heart container has 8 health points in it. So that's 3 times 8 is 24. That's why we have that. And then HP containers equals 3, and then HP max containers equals 16. So there's a total of 16 total heart containers that could be on this. So there's 8 per row that are possible. So these are the variables that we need because we're going to max these out. Whenever we collect containers, we're going to make sure we don't go over this. And then this heart containers is going to tell us how much health. For instance, right now I have 3 heart containers, but later I may have 7 heart containers. And so when I'm gaining health, we'll make sure that I only fill up that many health containers with HP. So that's what those variables are going to help us with. That's actually it for that. And then we're going to go to our step event. And we're actually going to add another piece of code here. So we'll add another piece. And this is going to be the iframe timer. And then what we're going to say is if the iframes is greater than 0, iframes minus minus. And that's all we're going to do here. And by the way, the 3 backslashes in putting this up here makes this show up here so you can actually see it says iframe timer. And we could go up here and say something like, you know, player states. And then now we have those up there. Okay, so the timer is for when we get hit. And so we'll go ahead and do the collision event where we collide with the enemy. So what we're going to do is we're going to add another event. We're going to add a collision. And we're going to go down to our enemies. And remember, we set up an object par enemy. It's a parent enemy. So we can say anytime we run into the parent enemy, run some code. Okay? So we'll go ahead and do that. We're going to say if the iframes are equal to 0, meaning we are not invincible right now, then let's go ahead and make iframes equal to 0, or to 30. So we have 30 frames that we're going to be invincible. It's not a very long time. And then we're going to say HP, our HP is minus equal to the other damage. So what this means is when we collide with our enemy, we're gonna go check to see how much damage that enemy does and subtract that from our HP. And that's gonna make our health go down. So we'll say collide with enemy. All right, we're done with the collision there. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to actually add the collision event for when we run into hearts to add more health. So we're going to do collision again. We're going to go down to items and say heart. And we'll add code here. And it's something very similar, but we're going to say with other, which is saying, hey, we just hit the heart, so let's go into that code. So with this with statement, we're now inside of the heart code. Or we're inside that object and we have access to its variables. And we're going to say other HP equals clamp. Clamp is a function that allows us to keep. I think we used it in our view actually, but clamp is something that's going to keep our values within a certain range. So what we do is we put in the range the number that we want. So the value that we want to go ahead and check, and we're going to say other.hp plus HP. It can stay between 0 and other.hp containers times 8. So let me explain that. We're saying the player's health, it has to stay between 0 and however many heart containers we have times 8, since each heart container is a value, has 8 HP in it. So if we pick up a heart and it threw us over the max number of containers we have, this code right here would stop it and say max it out at that max number of containers. And then lastly, we're going to make the instance destroy. And this is basically why we're using the with statement here, is because now we're going to kill that hard object. As soon as you pick it up, you want it to disappear as soon as you collide with it. So it gets picked up, adds the health, and it destroys. So that's all we do with the heart container there. So this right here is everything you need to actually have the health in the first place. So we have the ability to pick up heart containers. We haven't done the heart container yet, so we would do that too. Let's add a collision event, and we're going to say, oh, we need to actually create that heart container. So let's do that. Go to items, and we're going to say create object, heart container. and it's just the sprite for the heart container. We're going to add an event, create. And this one's pretty easy because we're just going to say HP equals to, actually we don't need to, yeah, I just remember we don't need to put anything here, so don't worry about adding the create event. We'll go ahead and delete that. All we need to do is when we hit the heart container, pick it up and add it to the player's number of heart containers. So we're going to add an event, collision, items, heart container. And then in our code, we're going to do something similar. We're going to say, and I don't have that code. Let's grab both of these because we're going to need both of those, the max. I'll paste them here and then we'll write the code. So we're going to say HP containers is equal to clamp. We're going to say HP containers plus 1 is what we're trying to shove in. The min could be this and plus the max number of containers that we can have. So that should give us the max number of containers, and that should be good right there. Oh, and then let's see this. With other, we got to reverse all this so we can do the instance destroy. Instance destroy and close the bracket. Okay, so that'll work right there. Okay, so now we're adding our heart container. So now we have everything. So if we collide with an enemy, subtract the health. If we run into a heart, add health to the current containers we have. And if we collide with the heart container, let's add more containers. Okay, so that's everything we need for that. Now that we have all that, we actually have to make it show up on the screen. So we're going to add another object called object menu. I'm actually going to use this menu object to create most of the stuff that we're going to see on the menu. But for now, all we're actually going to do is add the draw event for the heart containers. So that's easy enough. We're going to go to the add event. We're going to go to draw. Go to the code and right click. Okay, draw health bar. Okay, so this is going to be interesting. And some of this code is very specific to where we're going to draw things on the screen. Let's open up the room real quick and I'm going to show you. So if you guys remember from previous episodes, our menu is way over here and we're going to draw them on a specific spot right here. So that's what we're going to do. So what I need to do is I'm going to say, just for the sake of it, just to make sure, this should always happen, but if instance exists, we're going to check to see if the player exists. So we're going to say object player. As long as the player exists, we need one more bracket here, or one more parentheses. Then we can draw the menu. And there's a couple of variables here. I'm going to call one called xt equals to 944 and yt equals 215. These are those specific locations where we need to draw the hearts on this specific screen. So just know that when you're setting up yours, and if you do it differently, you need to make it wherever you're doing your stuff. And then we're going to do a for loop. So we're going to do for var I equals 0. And as long as I is less than object player.hp containers, we'll loop through this. So basically we're going to, for as many containers as we have, we're going to go draw those on the screen. So we'll loop through each one of those containers. So if you're not familiar with the for loop, you set up your variable here to start iterating on. So we'll start with the number 0. And as long as 0 is less than how many containers we have, we'll do some code and then it will add 1 to it and it'll keep looping through it. Okay, so we're going to say ht index equals 0. We're going to use that in a minute. And I'm going to say if I is greater than 7, we're going to change some stuff. We're actually going to say now xt is equal to 880 and yt is equal to 206. Okay, so this is for the bottom row of hearts. Let me show you again. So there's going to be a bottom row and a top row. So when we loop through and we're dealing with the first 8 hearts, we're going to draw them on the y-axis equals 215, right there. And then when we get to the next axis, we're going to actually draw them a little bit higher. So that's what that is. Okay, so the next thing that we're going to do is now we're going to say if the object player's HP is greater than or equal to I plus 1 times 8, then we're going to say ht index is equal to 2. So I forgot to mention this. The ht index, this is the image index for hearts. So this is going to tell us, are we doing the empty heart container or the full heart container? So what this code says is if the object player's HP is greater than basically 8 HP, then we're going to draw the full heart container for that specific heart. And then we're going to say else if the object player, the HP is greater than or equal to I plus 0.5 times 8, we're going to say the ht index is equal to 1. So this is the half container. So this is just saying, hey, if where we're at, it looks like we're at half a heart, that's what the 0.5 is doing times this, then let's go to the half a heart image. And then the last thing that we're going to do is based on all of that, we're going to say draw sprite, sprite hearts, ht index. So the first, when you're doing a draw sprite in a draw event, the first is which sprite, and then this is which index are you choosing, the 0, 1, or 2. And then where do you want to draw it? We're going to say ht plus I times 8. And so what that's going to do is say we started at a certain x. We start here, and then for every heart that we're drawing, we're going to add 8 pixels because this is 8 pixels over, this is 8 pixels over, this is 8 pixels over. So for every index, we're going to add 1 and then add the 8 pixels. We're going to put it at yt, which is whichever y index that we're dealing with at the time. And then the rest of these, oh, I need more. We're going to use the draw sprite extension, and there's some more variables that need to be in here. The next one is the x scale, y scale, the rotation, the color, and alpha. And we want those to all be defaults. So we're going to say 1 for the y scale or x scale and y scale, 0 rotation. When you're dealing with the color, you just say C white if you want it to be whatever color you currently have. That's the default. Otherwise, you can put another color in there. And the alpha is going to be 1. 1 is fully draw this thing. And then there we go. So let me expand that so you guys can see everything that we just did. Let me get over here. So make sure you guys get a good look at this. This is all the code. Again, it's specific to the locations that we have going on to draw all those hearts. Okay, so the last thing that we need to do is go ahead and put this object menu in the room, and let's test it for bugs. So we're going to go to the objects, We're going to go to object menu, and we're just going to put it over here for the sake of putting it somewhere. And let's do another thing. Let's go back to our room, and we'll go to our objects again, and we'll add some hearts around here. Where are the hearts? Items. So let's add some hearts to fill in our health. After we get hit, let's add some enemies. So we'll add these guys here, and then lastly, let's add some heart containers to see if that works. We'll add those to different rooms. So I'm gonna add a few more hearts in these different rooms just so we have enough to pick up and we can keep testing. All right, let's see if our code breaks. It does, of course. Object player, I think, so which object is this that we did this in? The draw event. I should have noticed that. Looks like we capitalized player when we shouldn't have right here. Object player. When you get an error like that, it says something's not set before you used it. That usually means you messed up a variable. So first, let's see. I just realized we didn't do one thing. We did not make it flash whenever we got hit. So we'll go add that in a minute. But you can see when I'm getting hit, I'm actually taking damage here. So now I'm down 2 hearts. And let's see what happens when I pick it up. So that picks up the health. Let's go down half a health. So now we're down half. Let's see if it fills up to the next half. It does. So now let's go pick up a heart container. Boom, boom, boom. That works. And let's go pick up some more health. So everything seems to be working just fine. The only thing I'm going to fix with you guys before we leave is actually fixing the iframes that we set up. I forgot to add that to the object player. So we go to object player. We're going to go to the draw event. We did the same exact thing. We're basically doing the same thing that we did for the draw event here in our parent enemy. You just grab this code. I'm just going to grab it to make it easier. And it's basically saying as long as the iframes are greater than 0 and we're just doing this mod 3 on here, then don't do anything, otherwise draw ourselves. And it makes this little flicker so you know what's going on. So we're going to add an event. We're going to add a draw, and we'll add the code here. And we'll add that code. That is really weird. I can't seem to click on anything there. So let's click OK there, and that'll make that work. So let's test that, make sure that works, and then I think we'll be done with this. Okay, so yeah, now we flicker. And the flicker helps, you understand that you have been hit, and that it gives you some feedback. Later, someday, we're going to do the actual palette swaps. So that's not what happens in the actual Legend of Zelda. He actually changes colors. I'm not ready to go over that stuff with you guys yet. So we can pick these up. Nothing's going to happen. It's not going to add more health. So we should be able to now go get hit. Actually, we can take these on and see that it didn't add more health. It just added more heart containers. So I wish I had more heart containers. Let's actually do that real quick. Let's add some more heart containers to the room so we can see if it actually does both layers correctly. So let's just fill this up and see what happens. Okay, so once we get to 8, we should start to see it go to the next level. We do. There we go. Perfect. So that's how you make the health bars. So hopefully that helped you guys. Please give me some feedback on this episode and everything else that's going on. Next episode, I think we're going to get into some finite states, and then eventually we're going to get into actually setting up the rooms, which I know you guys are excited about. Please let me know what you're interested in doing as well. And again, I'll repeat again, we have all the assets that you see on here, the code and the GameMaker files and the Patreon page, which is down below. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.